Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to more CS news. It does continue, and so does the good old CS. If I look dead inside, that's because I have not had any coffee this morning or caffeine today, and I've been up again since 4 a.m. I'm a broken man, and there might be some broken teams out there currently competing in Counter-Strike. Let's hop into some of the drama over this last weekend, guys. In case you missed it, of course, we talked about Elige now being benched on FaZe. We expect his new team to be announced sometime soon. Jacob is now filling in for FaZe. And FaZe, what they're going to do, nobody really knows, and they're going to continue to receive a lot of flack until they somehow turn that ship around. But it was around that topic of what happened, right? When Elige was benched on the roster, I'll admit, outside looking in, it felt like a long time coming. It felt a bit premature to me. I thought maybe they would give him another major run. But one thing that I noticed, and I don't know about you guys, and they're not always vocal characters. Someone like Rain is not necessarily always vocal, and especially Frozen, he's usually off socials too, but it was no one really said anything when Elige parted ways with the roster. Even Kerrigan in his post benching of Elige, he kept his tweet really short, sweet, and simple, which I don't think he always does. And so I was like, okay, maybe that's a bit weird, maybe it's not. Obviously by the end of his run with FaZe, they had really accomplished in their own eyes nothing, so it probably wasn't the best parting of ways, but people wondering what went down in the FaZe camp. And that was when some screenshots actually surfaced from Talking Counter, my favorite CS podcast, by the way, where apparently it was Spunj going back and forth with good old Bob talking about what went down in FaZe camp and alluding to the fact that maybe it was Frozen who didn't quite like Elige, saying that not everyone wanted to play with the guy, and maybe some other things that he had heard or interactions he had been around that he had gotten that kind of taste of, yeah, maybe Frozen didn't like playing with Elige. And people took that and they ran with that. That eventually was posted to Reddit, then taken down by mods. Of course, it was posted elsewhere. I think it's a fine talking point to talk about these things because even Spunj himself has now readdressed this drama that he brought to light, and not really taking anything back, but kind of more so saying this is the vibe that he had perceived after being around these players and being around the scene for quite some time.
Right, that's the impression I've gotten, and people are gonna have to read between the lines, right? Because no player on FaZe came directly to me, no coach, no member of staff, nobody came directly to me and said we all hate Elige, we don't want to play with Elige. This is what I've been able to discern from some information which you guys have, like in interviews or in vlogs, and then also being at the events, right? And in the events, you hear and you see things. So sometimes you're going to hear some things and you're going to see some things that contribute to the bigger picture, and then you understand some things. And also, used to play in a professional Counter-Strike team, you can tell when things aren't going great if you look. So the whole thing, and I shouldn't, this is where I shouldn't have said anything, because I was getting frustrated at Bob because he just kept calling everybody else shit on the team. Now, whether or not they are shit or not, that's up to you. You guys can all make your own opinion on that. They are the team and they made the decision. So we shouldn't think, oh, he has better stat, this should not be the case. We should think...
I think the discussion around this is totally fine. I don't think it's fine that the lengths people were taking this of like, oh, Elige can't get along with anybody, right? Like, think about back towards his bitter endings with other teams out there and how they've improved when he departed. People were taking it to all different lengths around Elige, or even going after someone like Frozen who maybe can't get along with guys who aren't European. It was like, you guys know CS community. We take these things, we drag them, we stretch them out and try and find what possibly they could mean. At the end of the day, I think the FaZe guys had just ran their course with someone like Elige. Was there internal turmoil? We don't know. Like, maybe Frozen didn't like Elige, but at the end of all of this, Elige was there for a decent amount of time. They accomplished nothing. That's via their own words, by the way. Even after the major run, they said they have not succeeded yet as a roster. So I think at the end of the day, when you bench someone like Elige, it's never going to be like a happy-go-lucky, like, hey, love you, man. Like, we did great things together, because it was a long dragging on of the same old FaZe. And so, yeah, did Elige and Frozen not get along? I guess we'll never know. That's the vibes that someone like Spunj, though, was throwing out there. And now we'll see how FaZe does with the new Jacob. I know a lot of you guys have not been watching these games, but I've been watching all of S1mple's performances. It's been really funny when you go down a tournament or two, all of the clips from these events are all S1mple clips. Like, they are literally, everyone's collecting the montage of everything he does in these games, but this time it was actually for good reason. And what ultimately was a loss to OG, a series pushing 3 maps, and a close series at that, a series that S1mple not just held his own, but did extraordinarily well. On some maps, I think dropping like a 1.8. I think overall for the series, dropping like a 1.5. He was really popping off. Had a lot of clutch moments. One of them was a dang near 1v4. I think he had a 3K op that was pretty nice, and a couple other 3Ks. I think he had a 4K Berettas. Like, he had a lot of clutch moments, and he was heavy carrying. What? Oh, dude, I need caffeine. I almost said he was heavy harrying. What? He was heavy carrying this team. Unfortunately, it was not enough.
And then Andu gets caught in transition, moving either towards Squeaky or towards the vent. Nikodos doesn't care which one it is. The point is he takes him down. And now Kristen's lurk surely is going to catch S1mple. Eventually, not quite. S1mple's now being really loud about coming back up the vent, and he just removes him instantaneously.
Now S1mple becomes the point man. Through and look at us. He didn't get a chance to even respond.
I think they know about the player in garage. Just in the way S1mple's maneuvering. Yeah, I love that. Flashbang through at a Nexa, and just S1mple keeps on going. He's a one-man army, and OG cannot fend off the beast. He's now in at heaven. He's everywhere. But
They managed so far to keep them at bay into the scope of S1mple. He's missed that opportunity on the first. Let's one cross, but he'll peek back in for it. He's completely alone, and it doesn't matter because I'd constantly. Still two players here. S1mple boosted up. Haven't seen too much. Does playing out towards long. Now Spook rotates over, so it's still going to be a lot of players to deal with. Oh, the swing from short from Spook. It could not have been better timed, just as Andu looks to take that swing. But S1mple's still here. He'll trade back to another player in towards the cave, and it's got to be all S1mple. Let's rotate. Being noisy, trying to bait him in. Bomb is at ramp, so S1mple has some space to work with. No utility to block this off, but he'll pick up a smoke. Gives him a lot of room to move with. We'll smoke off cave where Adam B was last seen. Tap on the bomb, but Adososting has fallen back. Time starts to dwindle. S1mple decides to go forward. Adososting actually expecting this. Drops the incendiary, but S1mple takes the fight, and now he can just charge onto the A-bomb side.
yeah, Adam B's been left in the dust. Incendiary fortunately will fade by the time he reaches the destination. S1mple's got more than enough time to plant, but it's about where he takes the after plant. Adam B coming through CT. S1mple vigilant, aware of the possibility, puts himself on a headshot angle, but Adam B overwhelms. BC game nearly bailed out again by the GOAT, but this time Adam B has the final say on the matter. OG 3-0.
Essentially a 1v4 coming through from S1mple there as
I'll say it, like I said before, it's nice to see him continue to be informed, but it's also the community that's going to continue to question what BC Game is going to do, because they're a top 50 team. They have improved in the rankings ever since S1mple has joined, but where do they go from here? Is a major qualification in the question? Can they continue to update and upgrade this roster while S1mple is still there? How long will S1mple be there? Can he prove himself enough on this roster? If he does, will he field offers elsewhere? I don't think that in time for the major is going to be in the question, but you never know. It is at the very least good to see him constantly top fragging or pulling out some really good performances at this level and showcasing he's still got it. So all eyes still on S1mple, even though these are some lower tier matchups. Again, it's a team like OG though. You can't pass them up. You know, they were still at the last major, still making decent runs elsewhere. And so it's cool to see S1mple still having some clips come out about him. And we'll continue to track his performance, okay? I've been watching a lot of S1mple clips, a lot of S1mple matches. And speaking of some crazy matches, I woke up this morning to madness. That was Vitality going down a map to M80. And not just down a map, they got obliterated on map 1 of this opening series. Now, they eventually turned things around. M80, they certainly flubbed a few things on Inferno, I think it was. There was a couple rounds there. They gave up some 1vx's, some one-man advantages. They could have had this series. That's the crazy part. Once Vitality win map 2, you're like, okay, Vitality's not going to go down to M80. But the shocking fact is M80 took a map off Vitality. At one point or another, people were talking about headlines, and this is crazy just how good Vitality was. The headlines were starting that Vitality had lost 3 maps in a row, and people were losing their minds because they lose the last 2 to Falcons. They lose the opener to M80 in dominant fashion, but eventually they brought the series back. but it's still, they're not themselves. That is very clear.
Not like the money is looking too good in the Vitality camp either, so...
Dude, could M80 really win this 13-11 on map 3 to put Vitality into the lower bracket?
Listen, you're playing round 22 right now versus Vitality. I think it's more than fair to give the credit to M80 for what they've done so far. And by yes, if you're only trailing by 1 round, you can most definitely win the game.
Dude, and Slacks has been absent, really, just in this series.
Which makes it even more impressive, right? That your player have not had a great game, and yet you still remained very competitive and can still potentially win. Same could be said for ZywOo, though. Great on Dust 2, nowhere to be found on the Overpass, and nowhere to be found on Inferno as well.
Yeah, I mean, the first map was good for Slacks, but yeah, I don't think he's had an orb kill. Vitality contact into the site, they explode. Lake needed more. 1, and same from Hex, it's not enough. You've got the money to risk it if you really want to throw in a chance here, M80, but Vitality, it's the contact play again that gets them into a 3v2 post-spawn. Much the same.
Hex aggressive. I love to see this, and guess what? It's paying off straight away if you can execute.
He got
Jesus.
the kill. He got the kill, but it could have been so much more. They've run the long side. This step getting heard by the site player. They smoke it off. They say, if you want to win this, you have to go through spawn. You have to go through B. And so Vitality freeze. Apex keeping the pressure on this A site, but they're walking the walk towards this B side of the map. Single gets a spot. Full util. Trying to get as much value out of it as he can, but they've gone quiet. He's not convinced. Careful. On the jump. His teammate ready to help out. That smoke is not a wall. They're going to walk right through. Close peek from Flames. That's a messy spray, and look at what it cost them. It might cost them the game. 3v3. Retakeable. Up banana, fast, go M80, but Vitality have the block. They have more util. 3 Molotovs in a post plant. And it's so clear where they're coming from. M80, silent. Maybe a boost up could be nice, but that smoke looks very tall. Looks bloomed well.
Ooh.
Deep nade. Not going to break the smoke. Instead, just gets more and more damage. And these Molotovs are going to be a nightmare. Vitality, it's been a hard series. It's been a well-fought game by M80. But I feel like they've run out of room. 2v3. Flushed out by Molotovs. Vitality burn them down. And they take that opening win. 13-10. It's not an easy game.
Because when North American teams are pushing you to a map 3 or multiple overtime, shout out Team Liquid, you're certainly not the Vitality you were in the first half of this year and still trying to find themselves. Again, they still win the series, but it's like when you are as good as you are as Vitality, you're going to be open to this kind of criticism of like, okay, what is going on though? And how long will it take to correct this? And will we see them return to what they were, you know, winning so many in a row? And they still are coming off a struggle at EWC as they lose that 3rd place decider, but some people taking it seriously, some people not. Some people being like, yo, Falcons look so freaking good when there was no pressure on the line. I think one of you guys said that as well. And so Vitality, they drop an early map to M80, which is scary, but they still come out on top. So all I'm taking away from this is North America is so bad. And then we had good old Techno. Speaking of EWC, he comes away with the MVP and he pulls out. Well, I wish I could take credit for this, but this was a Reddit comment. He is now the Mongolian Messi as he pulls off that little imagery as well. So they're coming off a great high. We'll see how Mongols continue their run. And one last story for all of you guys. This is actually a bit of an underrated story, huge for French CS, and I think huge for CS in general, that being Gentlemates. They have actually made their run, I think initially in Rocket League. They've now also made some runs in other esports out there, Call of Duty being a huge one. They have now officially entered CS2, I believe the former Iberian Soul roster. Regardless of that though, they have now entered CS, and this is a huge French-backed organization by a gigantic creator and YouTuber known as Squeezy. They have pull. They have some big numbers, and they apparently are really expanding into esports, which is good for the scene. And so we'll see if this roster can actually also make their major qualification run. And if so, yeah, this is big. This is really, really big, underrated news. Gentlemates making their little run in all of these esports, and it's always nice to see creator-ran organizations try and help with the sustainability of esports, and especially one like CS, which you probably just lose money in unless you're constantly making majors. And then even if you do that, you can still go out of business because this is just a cutthroat industry to be in, you know? But that's going to do it for CS News. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. And that's all I got to say. See you in the next one. Bye.